Hello, and welcome to Film Seizure. I am Chuck Moore, and today we are talking about George Lucas's second film that he directed, American Graffiti. It's a movie that premiered in 1973, but covers the era of 1962. Before I get into more of that, with me as always, we have Sir Jeff Arbuckle.
Why, hello.
And Dame Jason Oliver.
Hello. Hello.
Coming in hot. Oh.
This movie isn't even British. I'm sorry. But yeah, we have 1973's American Graffiti, the second coming of age film, I'd say, in our back to school series. Theme that's given to you directly from the start. Basically, you can't stay 17 forever.
Yes.
No matter how hard I try.
Yeah.
I have tried. Didn't work.
You keep getting older and the girls stay the same age.
Yeah.
Wait,
That's next week.
I'm sorry.
Teasing, you're teasing.
let's talk about, what we should say is, what a babe. What a bitchin' babe.
But yeah, we have a movie that starts out like I felt like I was watching Happy Days. I'm not going to lie, because I'm very familiar with Happy Days. I mean, that show was on every day when I was a kid.
It's on every day right now on MeTV.
Yeah, but you have such amazing
I'll
shots.
cash that check now.
There's a little bit of an edge to this one that you don't get from Happy Days.
Yeah, a little bit. Yes. They aren't all Happy Days. But this incidentally takes place in one day, right? And it's the first of a few that we're covering that take place in one day. Right?
Yeah. Absolutely.
And it just starts off like, it looks so good. I was kind of shocked by, like, I don't have any ill feelings for George Lucas, and I think Star Wars
he knows how to remaster his movies.
Yeah, I guess so. But even the framing to start this movie is just very inviting. It's like, I think I messaged one or both of you, like, I want a hamburger or cheeseburger, fries, and a shake right now.
Yeah,
like,
I want to go to a Sonic and get something, and
I want to go to this cafe.
Well, sure.
I want to go to. That's what I want. Like,
I want to go to Mel's.
Yeah, I could smell the fries of my childhood.
It is
at the beginning of this movie.
It is a very inviting movie. Yep.
Yeah.
We should also mention that this was a blockbuster. Not a blockbuster, but it was a box office smash.
Yes.
I mean, this movie. I mean, if it's weird to me. I want to get this out of the way. Like, it's weird to me. Like, filmmakers like George Lucas and James Cameron can somehow conjure up what people want to see, even if it's not something that I think they want to see. Right? They just know. And this was the first time that George Lucas did it. And this movie made like $140 million eventually, like over its iterations. I mean, this movie
because it was re-released in '78, which spawned the sequel.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, without this movie,
it was made for less than $1 million. It's like that's crazy. That's crazy.
Without this movie, there would be no Star Wars.
That's what I was gonna ask next. Is this the only reason that Star Wars gets created?
100% it is.
It also looks expensive because of all the classic cars, but those classic cars were much younger then.
Yeah, they were. They weren't as unreadily available as you might think. I mean, they were. They were around for sure.
But when you're watching it now, it's like, wow, how did they get all that? And I had to kind of step back.
And there's nothing that a car collector wants more than to show off their fucking car. So it wasn't that hard of a thing to get these people to loan their cars.
No, I was wondering if it was like the Dog and Suds up the street. They just put out an ad to come in and bring your classic cars, and that's what they did.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised,
Man, I could go for some Dog and Suds root beer right now.
I've never had it. Oof. I know that place, but I've never eaten there.
It's good, man. It's basically, I mean, I haven't had it in 30 plus years, but the root beer I've had more recently. But
that's good. That's a good root beer.
Awesome.
Well, it's kind of like the old Triple X in Lafayette.
Yeah.
there. That's great. That's a great spot.
No, well, I haven't had it in Lafayette, but I've had it at the drive-in.
But they have the original like drive up, get your burger diner is in Lafayette, West Lafayette, and it's an institution. I mean, it is a place out of time. It would fit right in with American Graffiti. Yeah.
When I was in Chicago and went to Ed DeBevick's when that was still open, and that was all 50s theme with the sass talking waitresses, that was fantastic. So yeah,
awesome. Yeah, I want that burger.
Jackrabbit Slims.
Jackrabbits. I also immediately thought of Pulp Fiction.
Yeah.
When this movie started, just because of that scene, I think.
Totally.
I don't even know.
It's that 50s love. It's that sentimentality for that time period, right? That's what this whole movie is about. It's about George Lucas like looking back on his youth with fondness, and it comes through in spades. It's impossible to not have fun with this movie.
Exactly. So what do we have? We have the last day of school, or they graduated a week before, I think. Right?
Yeah, I think they said the Wednesday before or something. Yeah, it was like this is essentially. Although that's good to question because it says on Wikipedia it's their last evening of summer vacation, which means that I guess they graduated.
They've already graduated.
They graduated a couple
of months back. But he says they graduated a week ago in the middle of the movie.
But that's what I thought he said.
Well, I don't think he says a week ago. Are you talking about when Ron Howard is at the sock hop?
Yeah.
No, I think he said. I don't know if he says a week ago, but he definitely says. I mean, it's implied that he has graduated months earlier. They had their graduation. This is the last day of summer, and they're going to college the next day. Yeah.
Yes, and the two main characters are Richard Dreyfuss as Kurt Henderson and Ron Howard as Steve Bolander. I'm farther away from my screen than I normally am. Sorry, but man, you just gotta love both of these guys. Like at the beginning of this movie,
they are so well-meaning guys.
Yep.
Like this is the exact opposite of what we talked about last week. Like 100%. You feel like these guys are those brothers, right? Like you feel like they are those really, really good-natured, heads on straight. They have some questions about their future, and we'll talk about that because this is a very organic, and also when you place it in the time frame, it's actually a little bit more perfect. But like these guys feel more like they belong as friends together than Dwayne and Sonny did last week.
Yeah.
Do you know why I think that is, if you don't mind me saying?
Go for it.
It's because they have a future.
Yeah.
Yeah,
probably.
I mean, it's such like you said, their relationship is kind of the antithesis, right, of the other two guys. Not antithesis, maybe you didn't say that. But I think the goal or the future of this film or what they're moving towards is quite the opposite of last movie. So these people are questioning a given, right? They can go to college. They can get an education. They can leave town. They can get out.
They're weighing options.
Yes. And they've already been given what the other characters in The Last Picture Show would never get.
Yeah. While Modesto, California is something that people do move away from. I mean, it is a city of like 200,000 people in the middle of California. It's something every kid wants to leave home, right?
It's like Greenwood, Indiana.
Yeah. And
it's in California.
But it's in California. Right, yeah.
But like they want to, it's a place that is not dead. It's vibrant. There's something to do every night.
Yeah.
And yet, as kids, as what's the word I want to find? Impatient, kind of impetuous. They want to leave. And they talk about that. And Richard Dreyfuss is kind of getting cold feet. And Richie Cunningham is like, whoa, buddy.
Richie Cunningham.
He's the exact same character. He's like, whoa, buddy. And also he's dating Cheryl from Laverne and Shirley. Yep. Same character.
So real quick, I want to make sure we introduce not just Dreyfuss and Howard, but Paula Matt and Charles Martin Smith as
Charles Martin Smith is coming as like a return champion here on this show.
Because those are the four boys, and I really feel like Cindy Williams holds her own as the one really truly like lady who is also kind of confronted with decisions.
And she fits right in with the four boys, probably because she is just a year younger.
She really
Richard
holds her own.
Dreyfuss's sister, so she's one of the guys.
Yeah.
Except for she's dating Steve.
Richie.
Ron Howard. Richie.
Stop it.
Yes, and those two characters are definitely important.
Yeah.
Because Milner is the first. He's the race car driving guy played by Paul LeMat. Not a race car, drag race guy.
Street racer.
He's a Fast and Furious.
It's the fucking Fast and Furious. Yeah. Man.
He's Paul Walker of the 50s.
Right.
He's got like NOS and shit.
Yes, he's drinking NOS. Jesus Christ. Mountain Dew energy, gaming energy.
I just broke Jeff. I could see him.
But their town has, at least from my understanding, is not getting smaller. It's getting a little more industrious, maybe.
Totally.
Because Milner mentions that you used to be able to cruise forever, but it's just like everything feels like it's choking them almost. The city's not dying, but the vibrancy is a little bit, I guess.
Right. They have anti-nostalgia for their hometown.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because they can no longer do the things that they feel like they could have done just a few years before. It is, I mean, like I said, it's a vibrant town. Like they're cruising, was it 3rd Street? Is it 3rd?
10th Street. I think
Street.
Yeah.
So they cruise the various streets, and it's like every block there's a red light, and they have to stop.
Yeah.
And there's bustling going, like you can see the people on the sidewalks walking by them.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny.
It's like catcalling. It's just like everything. Yeah.
It's just it's bearing down on them, and they want to get out. Now their nostalgia will return.
They have people from other towns coming to their town to challenge them in races.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But the idea though is that they will eventually get that, but they're impetuous right now. They want to leave. They want to get out, and they want to go, and they want to be brought back to this town later.
Yeah.
But it's interesting because it some do and some don't, and those mentalities change in the course of 24 hours.
Yes.
It's a little bit predictable, but yeah.
But I also kind of like that. It sort of shines a little bit of a light on insecurity on both sides of the equation, right? And yeah, sure, it's a little bit trite maybe, like you'd make that decision in the last 24 hours, but it's also kind of like you're kind of clued into this cold feet that two of these main characters are having, that you didn't necessarily know what they were feeling in the weeks and the months previous to now, but you're thrown in on this last night where they have to make this choice, and they both are rejecting it in different ways.
Yes, and I think it's interesting because you have Kurt, who's played by Richard Dreyfuss, as mentioned, who is questioning whether it's right to leave. Yeah. And you have Steve, who for the last few months has been hammering it into Kurt that this is the time we have to go. We've worked our whole lives for this. We have to go. Like, you can almost tell that Steve is the one that's more concerned about leaving.
Yeah, you right? You doth protest too much.
Yes,
sir.
Exactly.
Yes.
And that plays out really well in this movie. And I don't know if Kurt was Dreyfuss first star. Like, was he? I didn't pay attention when the music was so great at the beginning. I was just kind of leaning back.
I feel like Dreyfuss is our main character in this movie.
That's what I'm wondering. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, whether he's first billed or not, he is our main character. He's the guy we follow. He's the one we see through his eyes. Everyone else is kind of periphery to him. Even Ron Howard, in my opinion. I root for Dreyfuss more than I root for anyone in this movie.
Well, you have to. I mean, Richard Dreyfuss is just that guy. Like he shows up in any movie, I'm like, I like him.
Yeah, sure.
No,
in this movie especially, like as such a young man, he's not overly handsome. He's a little bit pudgy. He's kind of short. He's not the typical archetype that you would expect to follow in a movie like this.
So you're saying he's like the movie version of me?
Well, I'm not saying that. You are. You know what I mean, though? I mean,
Yeah.
he's
schlubby. He's like your pal.
We'll talk about him
Yes.
in a couple weeks, but you know, Days of Confused, we skip over that one. But when you think about like Can't Hardly Wait, he's kind of Ethan Embry like, right?
Yeah.
He's not really a heartthrob. He's never gonna be. He's kind of an ordinary looking guy, but he's relatable.
Oh man, I just thought of so many parallels there that you were probably thinking about while you were watching American Graffiti. Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. This is we hinted to this last week, but American Graffiti is like the Rosetta Stone for this type of movie.
Yeah, it's kind of funny because I don't know if I'm really spoiling anything here or not, but you know, Jason, you've kind of got your project with the most dangerous game.
Yeah, sure.
Where you're going through as many of those as possible. I think you can almost do the exact same thing with coming of age movies, starting from here.
Yeah.
And now the one movie that we have left that doesn't fit this is Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
Right, it doesn't.
It almost fits more Last Picture Show because it takes place over the course of a year plus.
I would also argue that of the 5 movies that we're covering this month, Fast and Furious, what the fuck? Fast Times at Ridgemont High
Fast Times at Ridgemont 9
is more female centric in the Jennifer Jason Leigh character, and that makes sense considering the female director, and I think that really sets that movie apart. Yeah.
Well, and she just happens to be more interesting, but we'll talk about that in a couple of weeks.
We will indeed. Yep.
So I get what you're saying because I think that there is, if you think about, like, I get the impression because this is a story that's being kind of told based on George Lucas's youth before he went off to college and everything. I get the impression that he's pretty much telling the story of idealized versions of his friends, but he's really Terry.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
With the big glasses and and just kind of the almost
I think he's a cross section of Terry and Kurt, honestly.
Yeah, probably. I think he would like to see him. I think he would like to be Kurt. I think he knows he's more like Terry. But
he is Kurt because he went to school. He left. True. He went to school. I mean, I think that's what's interesting to me about this movie is I think you can look at the main 4 characters and probably extrapolate a different part of Lucas's personality from each.
Sure.
Yeah.
Oh, sure, because Paul LeMat is 100% the rogue that he created.
They're all like fantasies of his psyche. Yeah.
Sure. Right. Whereas Steve is the more. I don't want to say practical because technically Kurt is the one who ultimately does the practical thing.
Right.
But he is the old reliable.
Right. Yeah.
He's the friend that everybody wants to have.
Yeah. He's affable. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. He's generous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There are also the three female characters that play huge roles in this are all very interesting for different reasons. Mm-hmm. And they're all 100%. And I think all 3 of them are very strong characters.
I agree. I really agree.
I especially like Mackenzie Phillips in this movie.
Me too.
Um,
They were so strong, in fact, and I don't mean to put the cart before the horse, that I was frustrated that we didn't get the afterwards about those characters.
Sure.
When the final pop-up came up, I wanted to know what happened to those ladies.
I couldn't agree more. I actually feel like that's a really weak part of this movie.
It's a big miss.
It felt tacked on. It felt like a studio note.
Yeah.
I think I think Lori ended up moving in with her best friend and moved to Milwaukee. Debbie
Pfeffer Incorporated.
Debbie got nominated for an Oscar, and Carol ended up moving to Indianapolis with her single mother and sister. And living things one day at a time.
Oh boy.
One day at a time.
Anyway, yeah. So no, it's kind of funny because that like what happened to the characters made me think it's like, oh, now from here, a young Stephen King went off and wrote Stand By Me.
I agree. It feels so weird. It's like I don't like it, and I wish they didn't do it. And it did feel like it inspired a lot of goofy shit afterwards. Like I had to know what happened to them 5-10 years later.
The first place that I think ended up happening where they kind of parodied it would be Animal House.
Oh yeah. You're absolutely right. Yeah. Oh man.
Which is another huge hit, that kind of fits the same mold a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
However, I will say that in Stephen King's defense, and actually I haven't read The Body in a long time, but Stand By Me, that note on Rivers Phoenix character hits really hard.
It does.
Yeah, the other two.
There's a poignancy to that I agree. That is, there's more weight than it is American Graffiti. American Graffiti, I didn't feel any weight.
No, it's like a tacked on page. I agree. Yep. And they should have given us the girls either way.
Right. I do feel as though there is one legitimacy that you could point to, and I think that I guess we can just go ahead and say this. I mean, there's a reason why this is taking place in 1962. And that is 1962 is often considered really the end of the post-war innocence era in America, because this takes place just before the Cuban Missile Crisis, just before soldiers were sent to Southeast Asia,
right?
And of course, about a little over a year before Kennedy died,
which is a lot of what the sequel explores. Yeah, which I've never seen.
Yeah,
I was going to say
actually,
it's just before Beatlemania too.
Yeah, exactly. So you're hearing nothing but American homegrown early rock and roll.
And man, it's good.
It is good.
It's used in such good. It's one of the most affective. Am I using that right? Yeah,
sure.
Affective music, like it's just great. It's so good.
Oh yeah.
I don't have much more to say other than every time a song popped on, I was invested in what was going on.
I'm bopping for sure.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, and then there's like some where it's like it hits like that. It's also perfectly curated for like stuff like Smoke Gets in Your Eyes. That is, kind of hitting where, it's like, this is their last, this is supposedly Steve and Lori's last dance.
Yeah.
And because one of the things that happens in the story is that Steve decides to tell Lori, hey, I think we should probably see other people in the year that we're apart, basically. Because he is 100% at the beginning planning on leaving, going back east, as they say. And they are going, and she's got one more year of school, or 2 years, or whatever it is. I think it's just 1 year. And they say, you'll go back. I think it'd be good for our relationship if we see other people, and kind of the opposite again of last week, where it's like, it's good to experience more. I don't want to hold you back from experiencing more.
I can't help but do it because I know we're going to talk about it in a couple weeks, but it's Mike Dexter and Amanda Beckett and Can't Hardly Wait. Like, it is that fucking exact same dynamic.
You can't hardly wait to
talk
about that movie.
But it's just amazing.
I agree.
is amazing to me. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say at this point, and we'll say it later, the next two of the next 3 episodes will be greatly enhanced by watching this movie first.
Yes.
The other one is on its own, really, even though I would connect them closer.
I agree. It is on its own.
The first, but it is on its own. It's a whole nother level.
But Dazed and Confused and Can't Hardly Wait owe so much debt to this movie. It is out of control how much debt they owe to this movie. Yep.
Yeah, and they both do it really well. That's what I love about them.
They do. They make it new. They update it. We'll talk about it. I know, but it's so cool to think about this movie.
Well,
like Richard Kelly having watched, or not Richard Kelly. Why can't I get the name right? Never mind.
Linklater.
Richard
Linklater. Yeah, it's just cool to think about that because it is. Yeah. But you know what it is? I wonder if it's even unconscious because.
Well, it's a timeless thing.
The themes and the timeless aspects of it are so repeating, and we talked about it last week a little bit with the resetting of the cycles, right? With Last Picture Show. I mean, these are learned attitudes and traits from your parents, from adults. So it's going to perpetuate. You're gonna lapse into the same cycles, and that it proves true through movies, through film, through culture, and whether you want to admit it or not, you're your parents, right? And I think that's fucking fascinating.
I think our generation probably learned it from these types of movies because I'll tell you, probably more so than from my parents.
Yeah, Shotgun. Hell
but
yeah.
But I mean, I can remember late 1992. One of my buddies had his license. The rest of us wasn't going to until several months later. Friday night after school in October or November, we're piling into his car and cruising, man.
Cruising the main street in Franklin or something.
Well, I mean, mostly just kind of cruising around Greenwood,
I know,
south side.
I cruised US 31 in the Greenwood Park Mall, baby.
I remember.
Yeah, you just pile in and you're just you're in motion. No matter what it is, even if you don't go anywhere, you're in motion.
You're bumping cool
with your
music.
pals.
You're trying to see who's gonna notice. You're chattering at people on the road at red lights. I mean,
we didn't really do that. That didn't really happen.
Well, I was gonna say 2 things. One, even Richard Dreyfuss says when somebody asks him, "Where are you going?" Nowhere, right? Yeah. And that's what mattered to us when we were that age. We were just going. We weren't going somewhere. We were just going. But 2, it's weirdly like being from Western New York. I'd never done the cruising thing. We rode around on our bicycles until I was like 17 or 18 or whatever. And I moved here to Indiana, and I met a good old boy at Sam's Club before I ever did anything else in the state. Like, I had no friends. I hated being here.
Yeah.
But he's like, well, let me pick you up. We'll ride down to Franklin. He showed up with like a 6-pack, right? And he just took me to Franklin, and we rode down. I don't know if it's called Main Street or whatever whatever that courthouse road is.
Yeah.
And we were just drinking beer, and people were doing this still in 1997 or 6. It was a whole new world to me. I never did it again. I was like, I don't like this world personally. I don't want to drink and drive with this guy. But
but still,
well, yeah,
that's kind of amazing.
It is. It amazed me at the time, but like a lot. Like, you think I'm from New York, but I was a small town kid.
Yeah. The other thing that was very common here
Franklin
in Indy,
is a really small town.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Well, and the other thing that, I mean, this is a kind of a Midwest thing, certainly is a Southern thing, but I mean, fuck, if you had a friend who had a pickup truck, there's 2 in the cab and about
you pile in the back, right?
6 in the back, and it's like, and the guy in the cab driving is going to lean over to the other guy in the cab and is like, "Watch me go over this bump." And who knows what ends up happening in the back, I mean, hopefully you realize that motherfucker is speeding up, grab hold of something,
Right.
But that's, I mean, that's the dumb shit that kids do, and that's all part of cruising,
Cruising.
It does. It's this movie is a love letter in so many ways to a time gone past, but yet it's still, there are things that endure about it, even to today. Like any kid in high school could watch this movie and get some sense of what they feel that those characters are feeling then, right? It might not be the same. It's not a perfect match, but yet there's enough familiarity there that they can relate. I really believe that. I mean, I believed that when I saw this movie in the 90s and in the 2000s. I mean, it's there. There's a connection to it. It's youth culture. It's this sense of optimism, but also disaffection, right? And that will always transcend. It just will.
Well, you're seeing people, and again, this is kind of similar to last week, but you're seeing people who are going to ultimately take charge of their life and they will eventually become the older, the more stable people, right? Yeah. But they're kind of rebelling against that a little bit too.
Yep.
But unlike last week, you trust them way more to get there.
Yeah, and it helps.
Yes.
That one, that they are not in a dying town. Two, there are no adults in this except for Harrison Ford.
Yeah, he's like 30.
Yeah. Was he 30 in 1971?
I mean, well, okay.
He was
25 maybe.
Yeah, but, I mean, yeah, he's the Matthew McConaughey. Not really.
He's kind of though.
Yeah, they're both.
But he's the one who hilariously calls out what's his name, John Milner, when he's with Mackenzie Phillips in the car, because he's like, call me later in 10 years.
Yeah.
I hate to break it to you. He was 31 when they were filming this movie.
Holy shit, he was.
Well, he was 30. He was 30 when he was.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So he was almost 40 when Star Wars came out.
Mm-hmm.
Man,
I knew he was older than the rest.
Let's
of the
put it this
cast,
way: he's almost 80, and he's playing Indiana Jones again.
I always thought he was 33 when Star Wars came out, and that was 77. Man.
No, he was 35 because he's my mom's age.
Oh my God, that's wild. He's Indiana Jones. He got injured again, by the way.
Yeah, he probably should give it up before his bones turn to dust.
He's got osteoporosis.
All right, let's go back to the movie.
All right, so but yeah, no, it's but we're seeing these people figure things out for themselves, which is probably best exemplified by Terry's journey through this, because he just wants to spend the night with a girl. God damn it!
Right. He's a sad virgin, just wants to get with a girl.
But I'm not even sure that I don't even think he wants to get screwed. I think he just wants somebody to spend the evening with.
Yeah.
Because everybody is splitting off, and he has no one.
That's true.
He likes the waitress,
but he's got Ron Howard's bitchin' car. Because Ron Howard gives it to him because he's going off to college tomorrow. He's like, well, who's going to take care of my car? So he gives it to Terry, Charles Martin Smith, and says, take care of her. And he's like, I got this car now. And that he feels like that elevates his status.
Right. He drives around on a little Vespa.
Yeah. But now he's got this amazing car, and it's immediately mocks him, because there's a car that drives up next to him and says, "Is that your car?" And he's like, "Yeah." It's like, what a waste.
Yeah, what a waste of machinery.
What a waste of machinery. Yeah, it's like he's just so beaten down. You really feel for him. Charles Martin,
because at one point he's hitting on the roller skating waitress, and he gets pantsed.
Yeah. Charles Martin Smith is just one of those actors that you just always felt like he was typecast as a nerd, as kind of the dork. I
was gonna say, you always felt like he was watching satellite blips in like at the Navy or something.
Yeah.
I don't know if that made sense, but
yes,
that's in my head.
Well, this is our second movie that we've covered of his, because we covered The Untouchables, and he has one of the greatest moments in The Untouchables, in my opinion, when he fucking destroys everyone on the bridge in the best scene in that movie. Yeah.
I would argue that Sean Connery's speech to Kevin Costner in the church is the best scene, but whatever.
Fair enough. But it's one of the greatest scenes in that movie.
So it's he's but he does kind of win something at the end. In the long run. He has an adventure with Candy Clark, who's playing
everybody kind of gets something at the end of this movie.
Well, actually, I would say Ron Howard is the one who gives up something.
I agree.
But he gives up something in exchange for something else.
Right. He gets what he wants, honestly. Yeah. Yep.
So he so like he's kind of off, and he's trying to like show off the car he's driving around. Steve and Kurt are going to the welcome back to school dance or something. It's a sock hop that basically, because Steve was the class president and Lori is the head cheerleader, they get called out and share kind of their last dance together. And then Richard Dreyfuss is given some advice from Mr. Wolf, who is the most lecherous teacher in teacher history.
Oh my God, isn't he? Oh my God, yeah.
But he's basically, I think he's told, like, just get the hell out of here. What are you doing? What are you doing sticking around here? Because he's trying to figure out if he, like, Kurt doesn't even know if he wants to leave tomorrow.
He's a teacher who left for a semester, couldn't hack it, came back home, and now he's been a teacher at the high school for, the last couple years. And now he's hitting on high school girls, calling them sexy. Yeah,
exactly. It's bizarre. Meanwhile, John is cruising, and he's looking for a chick too. And he's also, he knows that there's this guy in a really badass Chevy that is looking for him, because Milner is known as the king of the drag race. So he is trying to avoid this. Now, before they get to the school, something really important happens to Kurt that drives him for the rest of the movie. He sees a blonde a Thunderbird.
Yep.
Who mouths to him, "I love you." To which he's like rolling down the woods, like, wait, what'd you say?
He thinks he said, "I love you."
Right. But he becomes obsessed with her.
Yeah.
And so he wants to try to figure, like, he tells Steve, it's like, "Hey man, hang a quick right." It's like, "I need to find this person." And Steve's like, "Whatever." No. It's like
it's Ethan Embry and Jennifer Love Hewitt.
Exactly.
Yep.
And so he after leaving the high school, like, kind of Steve and Lori go their own direction. Terry has met Debbie, and Debbie will cruise with him and and wants him to pick up some hard stuff.
Yeah. Oh, you mean liquor?
Old Harper. I want to.
Old Harper.
I want to get a bottle of that if it still exists.
This scene is amazing, and it is so Mitch in Days of Confused. It hurts. It's so good. It's so good.
Well, and it's also timeless.
Just trying to make some money. Put some coins in my pocket. Yeah, it is timeless. It totally is. The trying to convince somebody outside of the liquor store to buy you booze is timeless as it gets. Yeah.
And so the first guy, he can't go through with asking, so he asks for the time. And the guy says it's like almost midnight, and I'm like, holy shit!
Right.
And
it gets pretty late.
These kids are out late. Yeah.
Well, yeah, because Wolfman Jack shows up at 20 after 5 or 10 till 5. Yeah. That's a long night.
Dawn. It's dawn. Yeah.
But the next guy, he gives $1 and it's a wino. So he goes in and he only buys what he wants and then slips out the back. So then he tries himself,
Oh my God. I love it.
Doesn't work.
I love it. He asks for
2 combs,
beef jerky, 2 combs. What else?
Batteries.
The batteries. Oh, it's the best. And a pint of old Harper.
The way he throws it in there, like he has some
classic.
kind of weird confidence, like it's gonna work.
It's classic. Yeah, he just slips it in there. It's so good. Yep.
And the guy just calmly responds after he picks up everything and puts it in the bag and rings it up. It's like, so you got any ID for the old Harper?
Yeah.
It's like, oh no, I forgot it in the car. And it's like, well, I can't sell it to you. I also forgot the car.
I love that too. And then I know that this skips around, so it's hard to kind of talk about these movies in order because it's all concurrent.
Yeah, it's okay.
Then I don't know what this guy does. The guy that shows up, does he rob the place?
Yes.
Yeah, he does.
But he only robs the bottle for Terry.
Well, I don't know.
He has nothing else in his hands.
He throws him the bottle. Maybe he has other stuff.
I think what happened was because the guy comes up and he's like, hey, can you help me out? And he's like, oh, you want me to buy you a bottle of booze? Yeah, sure, whatever, kid. And like, he's like, oh, awesome. He gives him the $1 that he had to get from Candy Clark because all he has left is a 50.
And she wasn't excited about that.
No, she's like,
the boys always pay. Yeah.
So then so like the guy's like, yeah, okay, sure. What do you want? Old Harper? Yeah, sure, whatever. He goes in. I think he buys the old Harper and then pulls the gun or tells the guys to stick up.
Yeah.
And then he comes bolting out and he tosses the bottle to Terry, who's quick on his feet. He catches it. And then the store owner comes out and starts firing.
That confused me too because I didn't see the guy with the gun.
Yeah.
The other guy, I mean. Like, I was like, why is he firing at him?
I think it's just a stand your ground situation there. And
we're not in Texas, though. That was last week.
Fair enough.
We'll be in Texas next week, though.
All my exes.
And then we got to go back to California a couple more times. Yep. So this is purely a Texas and California thing, apparently.
It is, yeah.
So then he takes off. With Debbie in the car, and it's like later when Debbie brings up, it's like, and then we saw a stick up. It's like that just killed me. Like when she was reliving all the stuff they did together, and she
none of it was good.
None of it was good, but she loved all of it.
I had a really fun night tonight.
And the funny thing is it's never going to be this exciting ever again.
Nope. Nope. It's probably the best night ever. Right. Yeah.
I've seen this movie 3 or 4 times now, and every time I think she set him up.
Wait, what?
Every time I think she set him up when they go down to the beach and the car gets stolen.
Oh.
Every time.
I don't think so.
No, she didn't. She obviously didn't, but every time after
that. But it feels like that?
Yeah.
She does feel a little like, why would she be hanging out with him? A little bit like
she's trying to get something more than he can offer.
Yeah. And but honestly, like, I really do believe that she's just treating him like any other boy in her life.
Yeah.
Right. I really do. And she doesn't know how to be treated well.
Well, and I do kind of think also by the end of it, when he fesses up that he only has a Vespa, and it's not his car, he's not who he says he is, I think she actually appreciates him more because she's probably used. I mean, she is a bombshell.
Yeah.
And she probably gets a lot of dick thrown her way.
She doesn't get a lot of honesty.
Well, and they're probably all a bunch of facades.
Yeah.
It's this is a guy who's actually kind of stumbling through the stuff that she sees in other guys to the point where it's like, oh, this is kind of cute.
She falls in love with his innocence.
Yeah.
In a way, love might be strong for what she's feeling.
Or his earnestness.
At least, I mean, regardless if she actually fell in love with him or not, she likes the guy and wants to hang out with him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's sweet because he's the guy who, is a mess.
Yeah, he kind of is.
Everybody else kind of has their shit together in one way or another.
And he's kind of the guy that you don't know what his future is going to be, right? I mean, they tell you at the end what his future is, and then they retcon it in the sequel, which is weird. But yeah, he's a little bit kind of left hanging.
Yeah. So his story, I guess we can just kind of wrap up his story. Basically, Yeah, he gets his car stolen. They have to go and find the car. They find the car. The guys who stole it beat him up, but Milner comes back and jumps in. To which does she say? What does she call him? A knight in shining
like Robin Hood or Knight in Shining Armor or something like that. Yeah.
And he comes in and saves and basically beats up the guys for them. And then he just kind of drives off.
Yeah, he pieces out. And then he shows up again.
Yeah, he shows up at the end. So then, so basically they have a whole one-night adventure from start to finish. Him seeing her and saying, "That's a babe. That's a bitchin' babe."
Yes.
And pulls over, and she's getting catcalled, and he is kind of catcalled, or she thinks that he's kind of catcalled, but he's also being a little bit more sincere. He says that she looks like an actress. I can't remember who he said.
Grace Kelly?
No, it was somebody else. But then she said,
sorry.
Then she says, "Well, I always thought I looked like Sandra Dee." And he's like, "Oh, you look like her too." You know, he's just basically, whatever he can do to make friends with this girl, basically.
But initially she's commenting on the car and the curled leather, whatever shit. I can't remember the term.
And he's like, "Oh yeah, I'll let you feel it." Yeah. It's like, I mean, sit on the upholstery.
I'll let you feel the car. I mean,
yeah. So she, so she gets, and so like it starts innocent enough, and then they have to go get booze. And then they're gonna neck at the lake or at the whatever, and the car gets taken, and then they have to go find the car, and they get the car back, and then he has to fess up that he's not really the person. But she's like, "Well, why don't you pick me up tomorrow, and we'll go out again." So that's basically Terry's story.
Yeah.
So Kurt's story revolves around him. Basically, his story is kind of rudderless because he's kind of rudderless.
Yeah.
He's kind of just weaving in and out of very his
story is funny though. Because
like
everything with the pharaohs just kills me.
Oh yeah. Well, he goes to the school, and then they part ways. He parts ways with his sister and with Steve.
Yeah.
And then he ends up with these other people that he knows, and he's trying to find out about the blonde in the T-Bird, and who, by the way, is Suzanne Summers.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, it is.
Yeah.
Holy shit. Oh my God.
Then they're like, well, that's the furniture store owner or whatever wife.
But he's like, no, that can't be right. She's too young.
Yeah,
somebody later says that she's a prostitute. He's like, no, she's not a prostitute. Yeah. The pharaohs say that, yeah.
And the funny thing is that they both could be talking about a blonde,
yeah,
who might drive a T-Bird or just somebody or just a blonde. Like
he's the Jenna Elfman from Can't Hardly Wait.
Yep.
She's the angel that
right.
Yeah. I mean,
in a way.
I think that she's more the Jennifer Love Hewitt, like the fatalistic like match that maybe or maybe won't work out.
But it fuels the entire night.
Yeah, but it fuels the entire night. Yeah.
Yeah. I can see that too.
It's very possible. How about this for a theory? It's very possible that the pharaohs are talking about Debbie.
Yeah,
and not the blonde and the T-Bird.
I definitely think that is the case. Yeah.
But anyway, so basically he he wants to kind of make out with the other girl because he's in the car with two girls, and one of the girls says, "No, it's the wife of the jeweler," and he's like, "No way."
Yeah, no way.
There's no way that's who it is.
The other girl's his ex-girlfriend.
And they're talking about something. He's like, "Well, why don't you get in the back seat and we'll talk about this more?" To which the girl driving is like, "Oh my God."
I love this. I love this scene because it kind of shines a light on the fact that not everything was so innocent in the early 60s. And that you can make out in the back seat of a car.
Oh, there's a lot of grab ass happening that we never saw, that were not portrayed in movies.
Yeah, and I love all the reactions in that. It's just kissing. They're just going to kiss for a little bit, and it's not going to mean anything really, and they're going to move on with their night. And I don't know, there's something liberating, there's something nice, there's something kind of youthful and energetic about that. It's just I really like that scene for its I'm trying to find an adjective, but
it's really wholesome. It's so wholesome.
It's not though. It's not wholesome.
I know.
It is kind of wholesome
in
that context.
Right,
yeah.
Right. It is.
It's teenage hormones, but not in a hurtful way.
Right. Nobody's going to get hurt. Nobody's lives are going to get ruined. They made out in the backseat of a car, and it's over. And now we're on to the next thing.
They end up kicking him out of the car.
Yeah, they do.
That's kind of the conclusion of his relationship with his ex-girlfriend, right? They have a last kiss.
Yeah. I just love it.
It is a little bit of closure. Yeah.
So it ends because the girl who's driving, I think her name is Bobby or Bob.
Yeah.
Calls her Bob or something.
Yeah, he calls her Bob.
She's like, "Oh, I want you to say something to this guy who I don't care what you say. I don't care what say whatever."
Yeah, it's like just start the conversation because I like him, basically.
Yeah, I want to meet him. And
to which he was like, "Yeah, so how's it going, man? Long time no see." And the guy's like, "Oh, it's cool. It's all right." And he's like, "Yeah, so my friend here, quivers at the mere sight of you. She can't control."
Oh yeah,
her biceps make her quiver.
Your rippling biceps.
The rippling biceps make her quiver. Yeah, I love that.
And she's like, "Oh, you son of a bitch," and kicks him out of the car.
Yeah.
Now later, he's just listening to the radio, sitting on top of a car.
They're watching a TV.
Watching the TV through the window. Yep.
Yeah.
And this gang of greasers come up. Now, what's
Pharaohs?
Funny is that the Pharaohs seem like really like you get nervous with the Pharaohs, right? Because you don't know what they're really doing. But at the same time, they're not bad dudes.
And not only that, but you got to look at Kurt and his reaction to things. He never ever feels like too afraid. He's kind of rolling with it. He could probably run away if he was really that terrified. Like I never get the sense that he feels like he's in danger.
Yeah.
Right. And because of that, you just kind of like, all right, Kurt's going on an adventure now. And
he accepts the adventure. He accepts it.
Exactly right. Yeah.
And they're the ones who say, yeah, that girl you're talking about is a prostitute. He's like, no way. And so they decide to go and get some gas. Well, they stop someplace and he's like, they don't sell gas here. It's like, yeah, we know we're short on cash. So they're going to go in and raid these pinball machines.
I think this is the funniest scene in the movie.
And so it's important to note also that Kurt had received a $2,000 check
from the
Moose Lodge.
And it's their first ever scholarship. At first, because
those little details are perfect, by the way.
Right. and he keeps trying to give it back to Ron Howard. It's like, why don't you hold on to it? He's like, no way, man, this is your money. Because he doesn't know what to do with it. But so when they get caught in this place that's supposedly closed and they're trying to get the money out of the pinball machines, it's people that know who Kurt is, and he's able to use his maturity and his stature in the town to basically
he calls the dogs off.
Basically gets the Pharaohs off the hook.
He creates a smoke screen. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think it's during this when I think this is where he starts to really realize, like, I'm leaving tomorrow. It's like these people have faith in me, and he doesn't want to really let these people down.
I like that. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's old people who just want to help him get out of town.
Yeah.
But not only that,
I don't think he wants to become them.
I think it's twofold. He doesn't want to become those guys, but he also doesn't want to become the Pharaohs, because if he stays in town, this is kind of his fate, right?
Right. It's
I'm not saying
ritual is in his future. Yeah.
I'm not saying he's going to end up in the Pharaohs, but this is his option.
Right.
He goes to community school and he joins the Pharaohs.
The life of the angels or the life of the devils, right? Yeah. Totally.
So he so they end up wanting to pull a prank on a cop that's sitting in a car lot.
This is the most famous scene in the movie.
Yeah. So
it's a little more than a prank.
Well, sure, but it's they sell it as kind of a prank.
Yeah.
So they
we'd go to jail for 50 years for pulling this shit now. But go ahead.
If we're not shot.
Yeah.
Right.
So they hook a chain up to
to the axle.
To an axle, and then they tie the chain to something like that's on the building or whatever. And so they drive by, and Kurt yells something at the cops out the window, and so the cops decide, oh, we gotta go get that guy, and we're gonna beat him to death. And they take off, and it yanks the whole undercarriage out from under the car.
This scene is so famous. It was on MythBusters. And they disproved the actual reaction of the thing.
If I want things ruined,
they Neil deGrasse Tyson.
I was gonna say, if I wanted things ruined, I would follow Neil deGrasse Tyson on Twitter.
Yeah. But it's that famous. Like, this scene is that famous. I mean, it is the thing people think about when they see this movie is that scene. Yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And I think we should stop with Kurt's story here.
Okay.
Yeah.
For now, because I think we should kind of
he
conclude
gets
with him.
the coda at the end.
We should conclude with him, so we should
Okay.
go back to Milner probably. And Mackenzie.
Let's do that because Milner's story intersects with Steve's
right after this.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So meanwhile, Milner is kind of cruising around, and there's a car of girls that he pulls up next to, and he's like, hey, you want to go for a ride in my car? And she's like, nah, I'm going steady, but my sister will ride with you.
They want to get rid of her. It's so
they want
weird.
to get rid of it because I have
weird.
It's not weird.
No,
you want to go smoke pot and drink
weird.
beer.
It's not weird.
But what sister would pawn their 14-year-old daughter?
They know
I
him.
can tell you
I
can tell you 3 men who would pawn their younger brother off on somebody.
Yeah, this is not. I don't think it's weird. I agree with Jeff, especially for the time.
No,
I don't know,
because everyone knows who Milner is in that town.
Fair enough. Maybe. It's like if they know him to be like a nice guy, I guess.
Yes.
Right. I mean, but
we don't know that. We don't know
you're
that.
putting a little futurism on this scene, I think. But I guess I understand what you're saying by it.
But we don't know that. It feels a little strange.
No, No, I've been locked out of many bedrooms when.
Honestly, it turns into one of the sweetest.
Ooh, farts!
It turns into one of the sweetest things, like one of the nicest relationships. One of the
It's the best part of the movie coming up here.
Absolutely, and it's one of my favorite dynamics in cinema. Honestly. Yeah. But you don't necessarily feel that coming right away. You know what I mean?
So they're like, hey, my sister will ride around with you. And so out from the car comes bopping Mackenzie Phillips as Carol Morrison.
She's so adorable. It's hilarious.
She's like, she gets in and he's like, oh my God, how old are you?
How old? Not that it really matters, but was she like 12 or 13? Would that be your
14?
She was like 14, I think, when they filmed. So I would imagine her to be in like middle school, like 7th, 8th grade, something like that.
So we have Milner, the guy who never left town but became a legend, right, in his own town.
Yeah.
But has doubts about the town.
Yeah.
Right.
And has doubts about himself and having stayed. Right? This is what it feels like. Is like his legend is wearing on him almost.
Oh, totally.
Oh, yeah. Especially at the end.
Yeah. But you can already kind of feel it from him a little bit. But yes.
Well, I think part of him cruising around was to stay away from the coming challenge.
Yes, he didn't want to race anymore.
Yeah, he didn't want to race.
He didn't want to race.
And he didn't want to race any old guy who comes into town. He doesn't know. He doesn't know if the guy's going to wreck him or kill him or anything.
But that's a great scene when he tests him on the street. And he's like, he's fast, but he's stupid. Like that is when you realize that Milner is a lot more than just a kind of like, I don't know, what do you want to call him?
Milner's the Kurt that never left town.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Maybe.
He's smart. He's intelligent.
He's smart, but you don't get the sense that he was smart in school, right? He never got good grades, but he's intellectual.
But he could have. He could
Well,
have.
that's called street smart.
Yeah.
Right. He's street smart, not book smart. And he never knew how to parlay his intellect into something greater. But he is very, very intelligent.
But he's a legend to all the teenagers.
And he is a legend. He's fucking Matthew McConaughey and Days of Confused.
Yes.
Or he's like me.
Except he's a little less creepy. Yeah.
Yeah, but here he is. Yeah, because if it was Matthew McConaughey, this little girl might actually be in trouble. Who knows?
Right.
Yeah, so
you nailed it, son.
All right. So he's so now he's
Chuck's dying. I see him. He's dying. Good job, sir.
So he's kind of saddled with this girl, and this girl is real precocious.
Yeah, it's a right word right there.
I don't generally like precocious children in movies, but I love this one.
Well,
because she's the perfect foil for this situation.
Yep.
Because she's not very cool. She's it's like she's the opposite of Milner.
Yeah.
And he's kind of left in this really weird scenario that everybody gets into at some point where somebody is saying it's like, oh, these people don't like me, or oh, I'm so ugly they forget about me and stuff like that.
She's precocious and awkward at the same time. Yep.
Well, it doesn't help her that she seems tall and lanky.
It's perfectly personified when she says, "Your car is uglier than I am." Oh, that didn't come out right. That is everything you need to know about her. It's perfect. Yep.
Yeah, she is. And so she's just kind of this weird kid who mouths off all the time.
Yeah.
And, break my arm. Oh, do this.
Yeah.
Are you gonna rape me?
Right. And,
he probably doesn't even know what rape is, and it kills me. It's like, God.
Well, it's because they get pulled over because he was spotted at a drag race earlier in the evening.
Yeah.
And she's like, well, tell me that, say Carol Morrison is boss and she's bitching, or I'm going to tell the cop that you tried to rape me.
I love it so much.
And then he says it to her, and then she goes, all right, I'll think about it.
She also had at one point put shaving cream on his nose.
Yes.
And told a story about how she'd done it to a windshield and somebody crashed their car.
Yeah.
Well, and then they
do that later.
Yes, that's why I brought it up.
Yep. Yeah.
Well, because at one point
that's when they bond. Yeah. That's when they really bond. Yep.
Well, and then she because when she puts it on his face, he kind of gives her one look like, oh, you, but then he's also kind of like, you're just a kid. I get it. He
kind of likes her too. I mean, like from a plucky aspect, like a rebel.
Right. Like I could see
spirits. They're kindred spirits.
I could see her becoming like his little grease monkey pal in the garage, helping him out, like he's souping up his car or whatever, and like it's funny because he gets so worried about being seen with her.
Yeah.
But no one reacts to her except
Harrison
Ford. Yeah. Well, that one couple kind of does when now one couple a little bit later kind of does when they kind of make it more awkward for themselves than the other couple in the car does. I can't remember the exact context of that scene, but there's a moment where
because at one point he does say he's babysitting.
Yeah. They're like, oh, okay, and
this is my cousin. We're babysitting,
and that's when like she reacts to that because she's pissed off, and she like knocks all the soda all over the car, and he's like, oh, would you start acting your age and everything? And the couple at the drive-through at the drive up are like, what?
Yeah.
What's happening here? Yeah. So there's like that scene where he like knows this looks weird, and he's trying.
He knew
to
it looked weird all the time.
Well, of course, yeah. Yeah.
But the thing is like every time that it was weird, he was calling attention to it.
Right.
Other people weren't.
And it's played for comedy. It's played for comedy.
Well, because the first time that they pull up next to somebody at a light, he forces her to get down. And so he pulls her down into
what
his
does
lap.
Say? She says something really hilarious.
Does this count as me as feeling you up?
Yeah. Yeah.
He's like, no, get up.
Shut up.
It's actually really funny. I mean,
he's really kind of very sweet to her because even in the beginning, and especially towards the end, because he asks her at one point where she lives, and she realizes he's trying to
drop her off,
fool her. Yeah, and if he didn't care for her, if he didn't like her, he'd just throw her out on the street.
Right. He never does. He never endangers her.
No, at all. Even the first time when they meet Harrison Ford, he stops at the stop. Like, he's not going to race this guy with her in her car. He doesn't even want Terry later in his car for the race. He's a responsible kind of guy, with the exception that he races.
Right.
No.
Well, he's got a mentality around it that he's thinking safety first.
Yeah.
He lives life a quarter mile at a time, Jason.
Yeah.
Just like Vin Diesel.
Yeah. But in the end, it's all about family, Jeff.
It is.
Yeah.
But there's a really funny scene too where the people pull up next to him and they're saying something nice about his car, and then they throw a water balloon and it hits her in the face.
Right.
And he laughs at her, and then I think she does the shaving cream thing, and then they get pulled over by the cop. And at one point she like nuzzles up to him and she's like, "Don't worry, I won't rape you."
Yeah. At one point, she is like, she puts her arm around him.
Yeah.
And he's like, "What are you doing?" And it's like, and then what's funny is that plays out perfectly later, because he knows what street she lives on. So he basically goes, like, it's super late at night now. And she also tells a story that really, really weirds him out. That one time she stayed out, or she was out late at a party.
I love this.
Parents had every cop looking for her.
I love that story.
And he's like, you can tell he's like, so where is it that you do that?
You're like, no, I know what you're trying to do, and I'm not going home until I've had my kicks.
But what he ends up doing is making her live up to her, like, wishes, right?
Right. What he does is he's like, all right, if you want your kicks. So what he does is he basically stops just outside of her neighborhood, and he turns off the car, and she's like, "Why are we stopping here?" And he's like, "Well, it's like, I just can't control myself around you." And he starts to like close in on it, and it's like, and she's like, and you can tell she's very uncomfortable at this. Or like, it's hit the fan at this point.
Yeah.
Like, she's pushed this too far. And he's like, well, if you're not going to tell me where you live, then I'm just going to have to, do something about that right here.
He's like, unless I take you home, I cannot stop myself.
Yeah.
And I love it, like, the way he plays this, the actor.
So
it's
good.
Not skeezy.
No,
it's
old. It's old timey movie like.
It is really, really innocently done. It's really great.
Yeah, because he you can tell he's fooling her, and that's what's great about it. Because if they made it
right,
they made it like it's like the antithesis of how Steve is.
Yeah,
right.
With his girlfriend in a scene a little bit earlier than this, really, where he wants it.
Right. They could have made it gross, and they could have made you think that he was trying to do that, and that's just gross. Yeah. Like they were very smart in the way they presented it, and it's like, look,
it was always obvious. It was
always obvious. I'm trying to trick you into telling me where you live.
Well, because the moment it started,
because you're 14,
right? Yeah. Well, because when that whole dialogue started, I started chuckling
Yeah.
It's like, oh, it's like, oh,
yeah, it's great. It's
yeah.
great. It's really well done.
Yeah. So so basically at that point, she's like, I live at 333, whatever street, whatever. And so he takes her home and they kind of part ways. She's like, oh, I'll just, I think she says, I'll see you tomorrow night or something. Like he's
so sweet
saddled with her forever.
It's so sweet because he gives her the gear shift knob
because she was playing with that earlier,
right? And she's like, "Oh my god, it's like we're going steady. It's like
a ring."
Yeah, it's so sweet. It's so sweet.
It's that innocent kind of teenage puppy love that she experiences.
It's really adorable, and I love it so much about it. Yeah, their storyline is just.
It's all the pleasantness that you could possibly ask for.
Yep, it really is.
So that pretty much is the end of his story. Because at one point,
not fully.
Not fully
yet. But his individual story.
Yeah.
Because he does get challenged by Harrison Ford, and he calls off. Because he's like, this guy is gonna have an accident. He's not smart. I'm not, and I don't want to race a guy like that, which is what you kind of get the impression that he's been steering clear of from the beginning. So now we have Steve. And Steve is kind of intertwining with all of these stories at some point. He starts off with Kurt. He ends up coming across Terry and Debbie.
After the car gets stolen.
Yeah, so the car gets stolen in the park.
Yeah.
And they think they hear the goat killer, the guy who's been going around killing people's goats or whatever.
Killing people and leaving a goat head there.
That's right. That's
what he does.
And sometimes he mixes people's limbs with other people.
Yeah, I do want to bring up one thing about Steve, because he and is it Lori? I'm sorry. Yeah. Wow, I remember more about this than I thought I would.
Good job.
Character names for once. He and Lori are, going through their hard times, and she earlier taken off the necklace or whatever that he gave her, like as saying, well, that's fine if you want to see other people. I'm going to take this off. And he's like, whoa, 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 whoa. Almost like expecting her to wait for him while he's out seeing other people, right?
Yeah.
He's kind of I don't really like him in this movie.
I agree. I don't really like him either. But I think that he comes around.
Well, maybe. But there's a scene right before, and I'm sorry, I'd like to hear that thought about him coming around, but right before he runs into Terry, he basically tells Lori, like, hey, I need something to remember you by, so you're going to have sex with me.
Yeah, I know.
It's a bit
rapey.
It's
icky. It's icky as hell. Yeah.
And totally. He does kind of relent when she's not into it.
Yeah.
A little, but he
doesn't force her. He doesn't, but he does try to manipulate her. I totally agree.
Yeah, I didn't like it.
I didn't like it either. I didn't like it either. I think Steve is one of the hardest characters to actually like because of how he's presented earlier in the movie.
Yep.
And they try to redeem him later by making him realize what he's got and how good he has it, and
still doesn't work for me.
That's fair. That's totally fair. It's totally fair. I'm trying to go with what the movie is trying to tell me to feel, but I get it if you don't buy it. Because
it's the one failure in this movie for me.
Yeah.
Because I think even Lori has, well, she's a little bit of a failure too.
But there's that moment at the end of the movie you got to think about, like the coda that we haven't talked about yet, where everything happens, and there's a lot there. There's trauma. There's the threat of death. There's like a really big scare, and I think that would also affect your feelings about a person.
Well,
like,
yeah, impermanence.
But what if you died? Yeah,
the impermanence of life.
Right.
Exactly.
Yep.
But he does get a little bit rapey in that scene, and I'm sorry.
I agree.
But then she kicks him out of the car for something else that he says. I guess it's unimportant, but they're kind of on a break, right? And he runs into Terry, and Terry's bombshell girl is like, "Oh, our car got stolen," and Terry's like, "Oh, ours is in the garage." Garage, don't worry, I took care of that. This is another funny scene.
Yeah.
But then Steve ends up in the diner by himself, and Bubba, what is her name? Bubba or Buddha? Did they call her Buddha? I think that's what it is. The girl that Terry got pantsed for earlier, asking her out. She is kind of expressing her adoration for him in a little bit of ways, but she's like, well, why don't you come over? It'll just be fun. Right. You don't have to worry about attachment, right? Which is what he's struggling with Lori. Yeah. And he kind of does have like a good reaction there. He's like, you know what? No, I'm leaving in the morning. This isn't a good idea. So I start to get a better feeling about him here, because it makes me think if he does go away, he's still going to honor Lori in a way. Fun isn't going to get in the way.
He's horny, because most 18, 17-year-old boys are. And he's been with Laverne for a while, or Shirley, it's Shirley, right?
Yeah.
And he's kind of suffering a little bit from the Sony aspect of last week's movie, Last Picture Show, right? I mean, but I think he really truly cares for and actually
absolutely, I don't question that at all
for her. And I think that's the difference between him and Sonny from last week. And when he's kind of confronted with this possibility of
a fling,
probably losing his virginity, right? He's scared of that. He just like no. He wants that to be with his girlfriend, who ultimately is going to marry, right?
Yep.
I think his character has some weird, quirky moments, like most 17-year-olds do, but he ultimately is he's true to, I think, his love, I guess,
his main crush.
Yeah, right.
So he turns that down. Let's go back to Kurt for a moment, because Kurt is free of the pharaohs, right? For now, until tomorrow, he's free of the pharaohs, or he has to go back with them. He's like, well, I don't know.
Blood ritual.
This is the first time he says something like, well, I don't know if I'm going to be here tomorrow. You can hear him coming around, right?
Love it.
But he goes and sees, and a thread we haven't really talked about throughout this movie is Wolfman Jack is on the radio.
Wolfman Jack, hell
constantly, right?
Yep.
He's all throughout this movie, and to be frank, I was getting annoyed with it. Until I realized the reason, which again, I said I've watched this multiple times, and I guess I forget what happens all the time.
Well, he's fucking Barry Manilow and Can't Hardly Wait. He is. I mean, it's the same goddamn thing. It is.
Yes, it is. You're right.
It's amazing, but it is exactly the same. Yep.
But he goes to see. Well, it's not Wolfman Jack, and there's
a Wolfman Jack, honestly, is probably the actual Jenna Elfman character in Can't Hardly Wait. Like that, they're proxies for one another.
Maybe, yeah. I see a little bit. I still hold a little bit to the girl because she's kind of angelic and not real, like Jenna Elfman was. But anyway, I could see both of those, all of those actually parallels. But he goes to see Wolfman Jack, who says he's not Wolfman Jack, right? Because Wolfman Jack is constantly referred to as like a ghost in the night, I guess you would say.
Yeah, he's a mythical character.
He's a bit of a specter.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, yep. And even Mackenzie Phillips earlier mentioned that her parents won't let her listen to him because he's a Negro.
Because he's a Negro, yeah.
Which is not true, but it was also a speculation of the time about him.
Sure.
When people didn't know who he was.
Yeah.
Which is kind of fascinating, really.
That's great. That's great.
It's
great. It's a great detail to build into your movie too. Yep.
Yeah, because it builds the mythos of him, or at least lends credence to the mythos of him.
Yep.
But Kurt goes in there and he's like, I need Wolfman Jack to put this message out into the world for me. I need to find this girl who I've been looking for. She cruises 3rd Street. I know that much. And Wolfman Jack, who's pretending he's not Wolfman Jack, is like, oh, this is Wolfman Jack. He's a tape, right? He's all recorded.
The detail with the popsicles is everything to me. Like Jeff will say it. It's all about the little things. I fucking love that little detail. The thing like, oh, would you like a popsicle? The freezer just went out. We need to eat them. It's like, and he says, no, I don't want a popsicle. And Wolfman Jack looks at him like, have a popsicle, right? Like, who the fuck are you that you can't eat a popsicle? I love it. I love that little thing in this movie. It's one of my favorite little details.
Well, yeah, and even to expand on that, when he shakes his hand, when he's leaving, he's like, it's sticky, isn't it? Or something along those lines. It's
so
like,
great.
That's like explaining the whole movie.
That
it's a bunch of sticky situations, right?
That movie gives like weird, icky context. Not icky, not in the word and the feeling of creepy, but like it gives it tactile feeling, right? It gives it that summer sense. It makes it feel warm. It makes it feel summery. It makes it feel humid. It makes it feel real. Like it makes it feel like I watched this movie at the drive-in, right? I just love that. That is one of those little details that is so understated but so fucking powerful to me.
I can dig it.
Yeah.
So he leaves and he hears Wolfman Jack on the radio and he looks back and it's like, it's Wolfman Jack.
Yeah.
And it's like, we all know it's Wolfman Jack, it's like, I know what he looks like.
Totally.
The mystery is gone from me, it's like, but
it's in the fun of things,
right, exactly.
Yeah.
It's the, hey, I can't live up to your expectation, but I can just tell you something, I can tell you something out of life, like, life experience.
And Richard Dreyfuss' reaction when he realizes that it's Wolfman Jack is really affecting, because he realizes something new about life. He's like, oh, things aren't always what they seem, right? It's like he matures a little bit in that moment. And
so what he has left a note to be read as a dedication to try to find out who the girl in the T-Bird is. Meanwhile, shit's really kind of coming to a head in everybody else's story because Steve has kind of pushed Cindy Williams away, Lori. She has now ended up in a situation where she's now in Bob Falfa's car.
Oh yeah.
Who's Harrison Ford.
Yeah.
And he's like, and Steve finally takes back his car to try to find what's going, find him.
I'm going to find out what the hell's going on. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
To which he does pull up next to her and he's like, hey, what are you doing? You're crazy. Get out of the car. I'll take, come back with me.
And she doubles down. She's not going to have it from him.
But she also didn't want to be in the race, to which even Harrison Ford was like,
she told him, was like, let me out when we get there.
And he's like, you'll do what I tell you to do.
Yeah, which is kind of fucked up. Like,
well, he's not a good dude. I mean, every scene he's in, he has a different chick, though. You notice that?
That's true.
It's like, that's the one redeeming quality of Harrison Ford in this movie. Like when he cruises, he's like a pro. But anyway, so eventually,
but Paul Lamont, like John Milner, he actually like questions it. He was like, what are you doing in that car? Get out of that car. Let her out of that car. And like that is one of those moments too, where you see a character that you're not necessarily sure about. At this point, you're pretty sure he's a good guy, but he's like trying to also convince her to get the fuck out of the car because
he's the second best guy, if not
yeah,
the first best guy.
Right, totally, yeah. And it's like, and I love that because they could have played that in this movie where he was just head forward. I'm going to race this guy.
Just rev his engines, ignore
the
girl.
Right, but they don't. George Lucas says you're going to look at that car, you're going to see your best friend's girl, and you're going. Wait, it wasn't his sister, was it?
No,
it's Kurt's sister.
It's Kurt's sister.
That's right. It's like I'm gonna look at that car. I'm gonna see your best friend's girl, and you're gonna say, "Get out!" Like this isn't gonna work. And I don't know. There's just something that really, really feels truthful about that moment. They could have like just completely cut it and played it with the car chase. I feel like if it were a Fast and Furious movie, they probably just would have.
There would have been no conversation.
Right. But there's a level of depth and character friendship that is explored there, even in that moment, that I just appreciate so much.
Yeah.
So anyway, the drag race happens,
and Milner should lose, except.
Yep.
What happens?
Except Harrison Ford is stupid.
Yeah.
Which he said earlier in the movie. He foreshadowed it. He was like, he's fast, but he's stupid. And he is stupid.
He goes a little too fast and he loses control.
Right.
Yep. And flips over.
And unfortunately.
Yeah, flips over multiple times. And any other movie, I'd think, oh my God, Laurie's dead.
Right. I know. Honestly, it's weird. I've seen this movie I don't know how many times, and every time I watch it, for whatever reason, I
worry for her.
I think she's gonna die. Yeah, yeah. It's weird. I don't know why that is. It's maybe because I feel like something has to end in tragedy in this movie, and it doesn't. And I always feel like she's gonna die, and she doesn't.
It does.
And I'm always. It does.
There's tragedy in some of this.
But I'm always relieved that she lives.
Right.
Like, every goddamn time.
So yeah, Steve shows up, goes and gets her out of the car. Milner, being the badass, awesome, best dude ever that he is, helps Harrison Ford up the hill. And it's kind of funny, Laurie's reaction at first. She's like, get away from me, to Steve. But then
she runs away from him, and it's so funny. Like, she just, like, starts running.
Yeah. But then when he catches her,
catch up to her, yeah.
When he catches her, she's like, don't ever leave me.
Yeah.
And he doesn't.
And he doesn't.
Right? He doesn't. Which is kind of the one thing I wish I didn't see coming in this movie was the flip between Kurt and Steve.
Yeah.
It's played out very well. I guess the fact that I did see it coming means it wasn't like out of left field, you know? So it makes sense.
Yeah. It does make sense, but it is a little, I don't know that there's many movies that have done that. It probably was a little bit surprising to audiences when this movie came out.
Yeah, it could very well have been. We've been through a lot of movies since then.
I really honestly like the fact that Steve, faced with the thought of losing Laurie, couldn't live without her. I think that's kind of beautiful. It's romantic as fuck. I don't know how realistic it is, but it's really romantic.
Yeah, there's a part of me that doesn't buy Steve, but that's
fair.
It's still totally fair. It's still a very good ending.
Well, Steve is of all of our characters, he is the one who's maybe the smarmiest.
Yeah.
In the sense that he's kind of always all smiles. He's always
fake. He's fake a little bit.
It seems like he's a little plastic. Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like Ron Howard, though, in all of his roles as an actor, has felt that way to me. He's always felt a little just too good to be true.
And maybe that's like the effect of having seen Andy Mayberry shows, like
Andy Mayberry. Yeah,
Andy Mayberry. Yeah,
that's his name, right?
Yeah,
I can't remember. I can't remember.
That's it. Don't worry about it. You got it. Andy Mayberry.
Return to Mayberry. He is Andy Griffith. All right.
yeah.
I got there myself. But yeah, even his character in that show is just so perfect.
Right. Right.
Opie makes mistakes and does dumb shit, but he's
it just never felt like true. Yeah. And I think that maybe is part of the problem. I don't think that Ron Howard is a good actor. He's not a good actor in this.
Are any Howards a good actor? No diss Clint, but he's not a good actor.
I'll throw some bones at Clint. He's played some creepy fucking roles.
That doesn't make him a good actor.
Well, I mean, yeah, he's just playing.
He's not going to win any Academy Awards, but he's going to be convincing when he needs to be.
I guess. There's some clunkers in there. But anyway.
Yeah, no doubt. But yeah, I agree with you. I think Ron Howard is the sore thumb of this movie in a lot of ways. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
And yeah, but neither here nor there, I guess. All in all, we're not at the true end, I guess, of this movie. It's played out pretty well so far. Right. And then Jeff, go ahead. I think you.
Yeah. So the morning has dawned, and Scatman Crothers goes off the air. And Wolfman Jack, that's his name. I got there myself.
He's like, you got that shine. You got that shine.
I wasn't sure. I was gonna let you like work it out.
So he's kind of going off air, and Kurt is waiting by a phone, and it starts ringing. So he goes and he picks it up, and it's the blonde in the T-Bird. And she's like, yeah, I know who you are. And it's like, I'll be cruising 10th tonight or whatever she says. I think she actually says third, one of those.
She does. She cruises.
I don't know.
She cruises third. I promise.
Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, she says where she's going to be. Maybe I'll see you tonight. And he's like, well, I don't really think so. But he's kind of got his closure. And he goes and says goodbye to all of his friends, and he takes off in the plane, and he looks out the window, and driving along with the plane is a white T-Bird.
Yeah.
And then we find out that Vietnam happened.
Damn.
Yeah.
What a bummer. Way to wait.
Yeah. So yeah, Milner dies being hit by a drunk driver. Terry goes missing in action. In Vietnam. Ron Howard is an insurance salesman in Modesto, and Kurt has moved to Canada and is
a writer. Yeah. Yep.
And you know what? That is kind of funny. Now that somebody had mentioned, Jeff, you had mentioned Stephen King writing Stand By Me afterwards.
Yeah.
Well, as it turns out, the writer of the story in that movie is played by Richard Dreyfuss.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Maybe that's what he ended up doing.
That's what I'm saying.
We didn't see the story when they were like 10 years younger, and they went and found a body. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. Very likable movie.
It is.
Much more likable than the last movie. But I also like that movie quite a bit for very different reasons.
They're two completely different movies with that kind of center on the same that same shock to the system that leaving high school often creates.
Yeah.
Right. These are heavier, I think, in my eyes than what we'll see later, unless I'm forgetting stuff. The other ones are a little more lighthearted.
Oh.
Or maybe a lot more.
I think of the next three we have to watch, Fast Times is the one that has a little bit more of a serious impact. There are moments in that movie, especially with the Jennifer Jason Leigh character, who is it. There are some really really serious stuff. I love that movie was directed by a woman, because
is it Amy Heckerling?
Yeah. Because
I got one right again.
Because because I really feel the impact of that in that movie, and it's just different. It's different. Like
but we'll get there.
The lead character is different than any of these other movies, and yeah, we will get there.
Are you saying that it's different?
Yeah, I'm saying that it's different, Jeff.
Okay, good.
But is it different?
I
don't want to cut you off, but I do.
I would go so far to say that it's different.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah. So a couple of added notes that I want to, one particular added note that I want to add to this is the co-writers of this movie, Gloria Katz and William Hike. They are husband and wife team. They are the unsung heroes. Willard Hike. I said William. It's Willard.
Of Howard the Duck.
Well, they did do Howard the Duck. They are the unsung heroes of Star Wars.
Oh, yeah.
They were the ones, along with Lucas's wife and everything. They helped punch up what was originally an extremely boring movie.
Yeah.
If you've ever read the original screenplay to Star Wars, oof. And if you've ever read the original story treatment for the Star Wars, which is what it was called, oh my God, like it's unfilmable.
Yeah.
Willard Hike and Gloria Katz also made one of my all-time favorite horror movies, Messiah of Evil.
Oh shit! Yeah, that's right.
They were knocking around Northern California after this movie was made. And they're like, well, we could probably scrounge together a few bucks, and they made Messiah of Evil.
That's super cool, man.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
So yeah, but Gloria Katz just passed away, I think, a year or two ago.
Oh man.
But yeah, she was, a major contributors to making Star Wars work.
Yep.
Because they were the punch-up artists.
That's super cool.
Yeah.
I had one other thing to say about this movie, if that's okay. Jeff, I didn't interrupt.
No, tell us. No, you're good. Perfect timing.
So if you can't stay 17 forever is like kind of the thesis of this movie, right? The lesson of this movie is, ironically, in my opinion, given by one of the pharaohs. When he talks to Kurt at the end of the movie, he says, Rome wasn't burned in a night. Right? So you have all these people making mistakes in this one singular day, right?
Right.
But they can't possibly destroy what they've built in a lifetime. It's kind of a cool moment and delivered from an odd place.
Yeah.
I was like, that makes a lot of sense in this film. I just wanted to, we kind of skipped over it because I wasn't paying attention.
No, that's fine.
But what's interesting is that Rome could be burned in a night. Too.
Yes, I thought that as well.
Yeah,
but
you
relationships.
You could ruin your entire life in one action. Yeah.
Yes, you could.
Yeah. Also, when you said ironically, now all I want to do is think of a character named Ironically Howard.
Ironically Howard. He's in Happy Days.
Ironic Howard.
Oh man.
Oh, I love it. Anyway. It's a good movie too. These two movies, we came out strong. 1-2 punch of Oscar-nominated Best Picture movies.
Yeah.
From here on out, it's stoners and not quite as well received, or at least one of them.
Cult following, so that could be big time.
Oh,
big
sure.
Time.
Two of them.
These next three movies are my jam.
Yeah,
I love all of them a lot.
I'm really excited to talk about the next three too. These three are the more watchable of the five, in my opinion. They may not be better movies. They might not be critically acclaimed, but they mean a lot to me, and I'm excited to talk about them.
Me too, and they all have a great heart, I think.
Yep.
For the most
part.
Sure
do.
Yeah.
Yep.
So next week, Jason, what is it?
Next week is Dazed and Confused. Hell
Blaze
yeah.
it.
Can't wait. Can't wait.
No, that's later. We can't hardly wait for that one.
That's true.
I've been the ironic Howard. I'll see everybody later.
Oh yeah. That Martha Washington was a hip lady, man. She was,
oh God.
they grew fields of that shit, man.
So so that is episode 189 coming next Wednesday. Filmseizure.com. You can also catch episodes on SoundCloud, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn, Spotify, and Audible. I think that's all of them. And we also upload our stuff to YouTube. So go over to YouTube, smash that subscribe button,
Smash
fuck that like button.
Smash it.
And then also in all of those same places on filmseizure.com and all of the previously mentioned podcast sites, we have Monster Mondays. That's my show. And this upcoming Monday is Godzilla versus Space Godzilla.
Oh, man.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's good stuff. It's good. So that'll be on Monday. I've got things to say about Godzilla. I like Godzilla movies, guys. Did you know that?
And you'll say those things.
I sure will, and I will count down 3 things that I like. Not count down, just mention 3 things I like.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it's a positive show. It's a positive experience. So this Friday, you can go over to my website, bmovieenema.com, and read my new article for Moonshine County Express. That is a Roger Corman produced film.
Sounds like some good hillbilly action.
It's not too bad. It's got Claudia Jennings in it. It's got John Saxon. It's got it's got Marsha Brady in it.
So is it like the White Lightning running, but for Moonshine?
It's to be honest with you, I think this is the inspiration for Dukes of Hazzard. Read on to find out why I say
yes.
And then
professional tease there, Jeff.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. This Saturday, here's another tease for you. Guess what Saturday is? Did you guys forget?
Saturday.
I never forget.
Oh my God! Is it the premiere? Is it the premiere?
Yeah, it is. Season 2 of B-Movie Enema, the series on YouTube. So again, go over there and fucking clobber that like button. Subscribe to B-Movie Enema on the YouTubes, and new co-host, which we had a little crossover a couple weeks ago, so you guys can listen.
So excited!
It's good stuff. It is good stuff. So those are all those things. And guys, I think it's time for us to spray our conclusive graffiti on this American pod show.
All right, let's do it.
All right. Well, until next week, I am Jeff Arbuckle.
I'm Chuck Moore.
And I am Jason Oliver. And you have been listening to Film Seizure.